Teams have changed personnel, they've upgraded their cars, they've tested and they've tinkered. But now there's no more time for that, because today the drivers, the navigators and the teams once again have to prove themselves all over again. So let the action begin. Sarel, we're coming off a very exciting 2001 season. I think by any measure it was fun, it was good for the spectators. There were lots of teams challenging, lots of drivers challenging. What are we going to be looking for 2002?
I think it's probably going to carry on where it left off last year. You know, Johnny Gemmell was probably the find of the season last year. He's now moved himself into a position where we're not going to think of him winning N4 anymore. He's challenging for the lead. He's won 2 rallies. So a bit more pressure for him. Serge was very quick last year. You know, at the beginning of the year they had some preparation problems, I think, and then towards the end he sort of tossed it a few times himself, especially in the last rally. And then, of course, there's the Volkswagen team. How big is king? Everybody's going to chase him. That's the target. Enzo has got to shape this year. You know, he's been around long enough. He's always been quick. A lot of it has been expected of him. And this is a make or break year for him, really. If he doesn't come to grips with it or win a couple of rallies, then maybe he'll have to rethink his whole career. I'm
quite confident, you know. I actually needed a development year. You know, I was out of the sport for 2-3 years, and in those few years the sport moved up at least 2 notches, and I was driving buckies at 80 k's an hour. So yeah, I needed the year, and I think towards the end of the year it showed. I was more comfortable running at the pace, and you know, we had a lot of non-finishes with the engine, which was demoralizing. But we're more confident this year, and I think those problems have been sorted.
You've got a brand new car. Any changes to last year?
A little bit lighter, not a lot faster, but we've progressed in the sense of finding traction towards the end of last year, which I think we'll put to good use now.
Now, in terms of the cars, who's done what? Who's upgraded their cars? Who's changed perhaps to a newer vehicle?
I think everybody's probably done some things to their car. I know the Volkswagens have lost a bit of weight. The Polos have got sequential gearboxes, which is going to make it better for them. Johnny Gemmell has upgraded his car a bit to the latest spec. And Toyota's done something, you know. So everybody's done something. They're not saying a hell of a lot about what they've exactly done, obviously. But I think the cars will be a bit quicker than last year. And that just makes for more exciting rallying.
Looking at Johnny Gemmell, who, as you said, was the find of last season, he came from nowhere, he made a big impact. Is there anyone that you can tip this season as doing a Johnny Gemmell?
At this point in time, not really, but then we would have said the same thing last year at this time. And certainly I think, you know, he's now elevated himself right out of the newcomer class. He's challenging for the lead, and he's one of the big names. And that's going to be exciting, especially for the guys in the two-wheel drive cars, because it was a learning year for him last year, and now he's gotten to grips with the car. And I think on quite a few rallies he could be setting the pace. So it's going to be a chase situation for the big names, for the Albics and the Damsus and the Kins. And if he can handle the pressure that's all of a sudden thrown on top of him, I think it's going to be a fantastic year. You're changing your role this year. From last year was the best newcomer. All of a sudden now you find yourself at the lead, and you're going to compete for the lead all the time, which might put a bit of pressure on you. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think so. You know, we had a lot of pressure on us last year, being our first year in this car. But I've got confidence in the car now. I've got a good navigator, and I think we'll do well.
You've got any good navigator? Have you done any testing together or not?
Yes, 2 weeks ago, Robert stays in Natal. He flew up to Joburg for a regional event, and we won it quite easily with an old car. So, no, we got on well together.
Now, even amongst the established teams, we have seen some name changes, particularly among the navigators, where it looks like a case of musical chairs.
You always have the silly season towards the end of the year. I think Johnny's got a very good navigator with him, with Paisley. Enzo has made quite a dramatic change with Pierre Aris, who's been around in the Cape especially for quite some time. Also a young guy that's now moved into a top team, which is nice. Serge and Guy, probably the oldest two, you know, combined ages. They're probably touching 100 or very close to it. Maybe even over 100 at this point in time. So that's experience as against youth and new combinations. Chart, Cindy Harding retired last year, so Chart's got a new navigator. So, yes, there's going to be some getting used to the navigators. I mean, you got to get used to a guy's style of navigating, as the navigators got to get used to a guy's style of driving. And some guys want it a bit earlier, some guys a bit later. So the first few stages probably feel each other out. But you haven't got too much time to do that kind of thing because the rally might run away from you. Charles, a new navigator after many, many years with Cindy Harding. Have you done any testing together?
We had 2 cups of tea together so far, so it's like a blind date. I mean, when the lights goes off, we'll have to see what happens. I'm confident that Mike got the ability. It's just a matter of we must gel together and get our act together, that's all.
It does take a bit of time, though, to get used to another navigator style of navigating, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously. I think that we will take maybe the whole day today to settle in, I would think. But, I mean, that's part of it. There was no opportunity for us to go out together beforehand, so we must take today and sort out.
Let's just take a look into the background. We've been off for, 4 months, I guess. What has been happening behind the scenes?
Volkswagen built a lot of new cars. I know the 2 cars of Hobbick and King are brand new. There's some new players in the field. And a lot of those cars have moved down to privateers, so it's helped the old rally scene in the sense that there's more cars available and the top cars have gotten better. Now, the same would have been, Toyota didn't build new cars, but the cars would have been stripped to the bare chassis and a few changes here and there, a few improvements here and there. And I think everybody has more or less done the same thing. A guy like Johnny Gemmell probably upgraded his car to the latest World Championship spec Subaru. So there's always enough things to do, but not enough time to do it in. And I bet they were all still working until yesterday.
We're seeing, I think it's 3 development teams this year. Is that indicative of the changing face of South African rally?
I think it's only natural, that guys would be interested in motorsport. There's a lot of publicity in motorsport. There's a lot of TV time given to motorsport. So it's only natural that guys would like to get into the sport, and it's actually nice to see that. Because what also happens that gives motorsport a chance to have competitors from communities previously not involved, and that brings more, different kinds of sponsors, different kind of public viewing and all the rest of it. So, yes, it's only good for the sport. I mean, any sport who's not involved in that kind of thing is probably just going to die out anyway.
Here are the top 10 starters as the rally crews prepare to leave from the Gateway Shopping Centre in Umhlanga Rocks. A8, N4 and so on are designations denoting the classes in which the cars compete. A8 entries are 2-wheel drive, N4 are 4-wheel drive.
So you're starting number 1, which is not necessarily a good thing on a wet rally.
Yeah, it's always a problem in number 1 in this type of event where there's a bit of wet and slippery. So we just have to be a bit more careful and attack it as it comes.
The car, any changes?
The car's very nice. It's well prepared and it's nicely put together, and very happy with the car so far.
Competition?
Well, I'm sure Yanni and Inza is going to be the biggest competition this year, and of course you can't forget Johnny Gemmell, which he did quite well last year with the car.
And at your age, you desperately want to win and have another championship, eh?
For sure, and so far I'm still competitive, so we'll keep on going.
Toyota's Damso had a poor 2001. By contrast, Volkswagen's Jannie Habich enjoyed a championship-winning season.
Jannie, you've come off a very good season, which means everybody's going to be out to get you.
Yeah, we can't go anywhere besides stay where we are or maybe down, and going down is not an option. So I think from that point of view, keeping our position is going to be a tough year. There's quite a few guys that are eager to swap positions with us, so yeah, it's going to be tough.
You got a new car, any improvements on it?
Yeah, they've managed to reduce quite a bit of weight on the car, so obviously that's a major plus. But the rest of it is basically the same as last year.
Stage 1 was spectator-friendly.